everybody, to NXTV. This is our review episode. We are filming this on Friday night before 205 Live. We had some unforeseen family obligations that we have to attend to in the morning, so we're not able to film. But we are planning to go live. If you have not seen that already, go back and watch the live where we do cover 205 Live tonight. We'll just be doing that from our house instead of studio. So what we are covering today is NXT and NXT UK. So let's jump right into it.
All right, so for NXT, we started the night off with William Regal's big announcement. Announcements.
Yeah.
First off, we've got the very next takeover, Stand and Deliver, is going to be a 2-night thing.
That's right. We're going to have the first night, which will be our usual NXT show, but it's going to be Takeover Stand and Deliver Night 1 on Wednesday. And then we go into Thursday, where it will be live exclusively on Peacock, the second night of Stand and Deliver. So a 2-night takeover the week of WrestleMania. Then we have a 2-night WrestleMania. I mean, that week is just stacked with wrestling.
It's going to be a big wrestling week.
I personally cannot wait to see what we do, because normally takeovers have, 5 matches? And they are usually all huge matches. Are we going to be able to meet those expectations that we normally have when we go into TakeOver with having to extend it to 2 nights? Are we going to care about all, assuming 10 matches, that they're going to have as much as we normally do with the TakeOver?
Absolutely. But the bigger announcement, and I have to say, this is the bigger announcement.
Oh, definitely.
Because I was super stoked about this, is NXT has their own women's tag team champs.
Yeah. Screw waiting for WWE to give NXT a legit shot at those titles. And we're like, you know what, if we can't ever hold those titles, those titles have been around for 2 years now, and NXT just can't seem to, number one, get a shot at them, and when we do, we get screwed over, so screw it, let's bring in our own.
Yeah.
And then they give them to Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez, who I feel were the right team to hold them. They won the women's tag team, Dusty Classic, and they had their shot against Shayna and Nia and got legit. I mean, it was the Orlando Screwjob.
It was.
I mean, so that was the right move. And Raquel's takes off and says, "We're going to hold these for a really, really long time." And then Ember and Shotzi come in and say, "Well, let's see about that. How about you give us a shot at them?" And so they did later on in the night, and we'll cover that in a minute. So the next match that we have, it starts off the show with Io Shirai and Toni Storm's women's title match in OMG. And yes, I said it like a teenage girl because that's how that match made me feel. It was just a great match. Io Shirai goes over Toni Storm, and I mean, he couldn't say that. He thought Toni was going to win.
I did.
And I definitely shoved it in his face that Io Shirai is the greatest women's champion that we have ever had. And that goes over Shayna Baszler. That goes over Asuka. That goes over Kairi Sane. That goes over Ember Moon. Io Shirai is the women's champion the best one that we've ever had. I mean, Rhea comes close.
Rhea comes close.
Charlotte comes close. Bailey. But I'm telling you, Io Shirai, to me, is the ultimate underdog champion. She's our Daniel Bryan. I mean, legit. You think there is no way she's going to come out on top, and she just keeps doing it and proving us wrong. You have anything to add?
I honestly thought Toni Storm was going to win this match, only because it's Toni's time. Okay, Toni had the NXT UK Women's Championship.
First ever.
Yeah. And she held that for a good long while before losing it to Rhea.
Uh-huh.
But when the thing that really made me think that Toni was going to win this was the fact that she went over Io to win the Mae Young Classic.
That was a different Io. And that was a different Toni. Yeah, it was. But I think this Toni, in my opinion, is not as good as the Toni that beat Io in the Mae Young.
You think this is a lesser Tony?
I'm not saying she's a lesser Tony. I'm just saying that she doesn't seem to have the fire that she had when she was going in the Mae Young Classic. Honestly, this Tony seems to have a chip on her shoulder, and that to me is holding her back.
I agree.
It's holding her back.
I can see that.
Okay.
I can see that.
So the next match that we have...
It was Pete Dunne defeating Jake Atlas.
Who cares?
Who cares?
The next match we have, or the next thing that we have... Well, basically, Pete Dunne says after it's over, he's the greatest technical wrestler in NXT, and basically lays out...
He said he's the greatest technical wrestler in WWE.
Okay. Well, anyway, and he's basically saying, he lays out an open challenge for somebody to come in and prove him wrong. And I'm sorry, Toothless Timmy, in my opinion, can be the one to prove him wrong.
I agree.
But anyway, so the next thing that we have LA Knight in the back saying that you thought I was going to have my, debut last week, and I didn't, and I'm not having it this week, but next week I'm going to make my in-ring debut. Who's going to take me on? And then who but other than Thick Boy himself, the colossal Bronson Reed comes out, and he has something to say about that. We don't know for sure that that's the match we're going to get next week because they didn't announce it. That was like the one match that they didn't announce for next week. But they did say that LA Knight was going to have his debut next week. I have to believe that Bronson is going to be the guy that go up against him. We called that about a week ago.
Right. So, then next thing we had going on, we had the NXT Women's Tag Team Championship match.
I mean, we've had the titles for an hour. And now they're being defended. You can't say that Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez were not fighting champions.
You said were.
Yeah, I did.
You said were.
I gave the ending of that match away, didn't I?
You did.
I mean, was that the right move? Yeah, in my opinion.
I don't think so.
He doesn't think so. But Shotzi and Ember, they make history by being the second ever NXT Tag Team Women's Champions. And they make history with the fact that Ember Moon is the first person to hold the NXT Women's title and the Women's Tag Team Championships. Shotzi makes history as the third Filipino born wrestler to hold gold in WWE. You have Batista and you have TJ Perkins that held them before. She's the second person to hold tag team gold, second Filipino person to hold tag team gold, being Batista held them before. And she is the first person, the first female Filipina to hold gold in WWE.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, wow. That is just...
That's a whole long line.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of history being made. We had those titles be given. We had those titles given to Dakota and Raquel. We had those titles being won by Shotzi and Ember. There has not been a successful tag title defense yet. That's crazy.
Dakota and Raquel started the night off by saying we're going to hold these titles for a long, long time.
Apparently, long time was 58 minutes. I mean,
that's about it.
I love it. Honestly, I do. Because, I mean, Dakota and Raquel deserved it, but Raquel is so good, she doesn't need to be held back in a tag team. Dakota is so good, she doesn't need to be held back in a tag team. And if they hold the tag team gold, you run into the same problem that you have with Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. They are both, Shayna Baszler is so good, she doesn't need to be held back in that tag team. I refuse, guys. I refuse. Nia Jax, you watch this, I really don't like you. So, anyway, but I really feel like you run into that same problem where Shayna can't go for that singles gold legitimately because she's held back in the tag team. So Dakota and Raquel don't need to be held back in the tag team. Not saying that Shotzi and Ember aren't that good, where they can't go for that single gold either. But it makes no sense while Io has the title, right? So
and even then, a little bit later on during the night, we see Dakota and Raquel backstage, looking all down in the dumps because they lost their titles, and then Io comes up and says, "Hey, I want you next," and looks directly at Raquel, and Raquel's like, "I."
Did you happen to notice the look on Dakota's face when that happened?
Oh, she was mad.
She was upset. It was almost like the look that she had when Rhea told her she wasn't on her War Games team.
Uh-huh.
What happened there? Dakota turned on Miss Shiny herself, right? Just saying.
I knew there was a reason why I wore this shirt.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even plan that. I just happened to notice that.
Anyway, moving on. The next match was Xia Li and Kaden Carter. Xia technically won that match.
We knew she was going to win. Did we know she was going to win that way? No. But, hey, a win is a win is a win is a win. And Caden Carter basically got DQ'd because Casey got pissed off and hit her.
And hit Zaya with a crutch.
I mean, woo! That was cool. That was super cool. And
crutch.
Casey jumps in the ring with that busted up leg. Jumps in the ring ready to go.
She got all in Zaya's face. It was hilarious.
And then Boa comes in and Caden hits Boa with the crutch. And I'm like, hey now. We actually saw Boa do something?
We saw Boa take a hit?
I mean,
what?
Haven't seen that since the tournament that he was in. The new tournament. Breakout Star tournament. Yeah. All right. So the next match we have is Legado going up against who I really felt like it was going to be Breezango or Everrise, right?
I honestly thought
I really felt like that was what it was going to be, but it ends up being GYV. Why? I don't know, but okay. But GYV, they can be a heel against anybody.
It's true.
You had the crowd cheering for Legado because of what Zach Gibson said. I mean, that's how you know you have a great heel in Zach Gibson, that he can make anybody hate him. But anyway, so the match goes, and then Legado gets the victory, which I'm like, why? But, it was because MSK comes out on the entrance ramp dressed up like Breezango. I mean, he will tell you, when they came out, I was like, that is not Breezango.
I thought it was.
Yeah. I'm like, that's not Breezango. They're too short.
They're too short. When you said that, that's where I was like, you're right. They are too short.
But it was MSK. And I'm like, okay, so that gets GYV's attention because Wesley got his hand broken.
Right.
But Wesley gets some retribution. I'm sorry, I hate saying retribution because it makes me think, Ultimate Suckfest on Raw. But anyway, he got some payback. I hate saying payback because that tells me Ultimate Suckfest of a pay-per-view.
Come on.
I mean, he got him some. Okay, I'm sorry, payback sucked. But anyway, he got him some by breaking. I don't know if he broke it or not, but he sure got hold of.
Yeah,
he got hold of Gibson's hand.
He got to get hold of Gibson's hand.
All right,
and then Breezango comes in behind,
and they get
some on Legado because Legado come beat their up.
And then we had Nash Carter's childhood dreams come true by dancing with Fandango.
Yeah.
You gotta love that little feel good moment.
Dude.
Anyway, and then the next match that we have was the main event. It was Finn Balor and Adam Cole.
Baby!
We can't say that anymore. What? We're not supposed to like him.
I don't care.
Anyway, we've seen this match before. We have, but this match to me, it felt like they took it up a notch from their last meeting. Because the last time they met, Adam Cole was in the midst of doing somewhat of a face turn. Finn Balor was somewhat of a heel. So this match, it seemed to be a little bit different. And they really were going at each other. Several near falls, several finishing moves that don't finish the match. Finn Balor ends up taking out the victory here. Kyle O'Reilly shows up towards the end of the match, and I think Adam wasn't all there. He was more worried about Kyle than he was about winning the title.
Yeah.
Kyle O'Reilly jumps into the ring after the match. I'll tell you that we were watching this with my mom, and my mom was like, Kyle's gonna turn, and he's gonna hit Balor. Because Finn was like, here, have at it. And Kyle just kind of walks by him, doesn't really acknowledge him. And I'm like, come on, Mom, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Kyle's not going to do it. Kyle can't do it.
And then Adam goes for the low blow and pretty much legitimizes that Kyle is not going to turn on Finn Balor. He catches it and then throws an armbar on him. I mean, that was awesome.
That was
beautiful. It was awesome. Kyle O'Reilly basically went off on him. And, as he's about to do what Adam did to him that took him out, suddenly 1,000 referees show up, and I'm like, well, where the hell were you guys when that happened to Kyle? I mean, but
they were all in the back, dirt for dirt.
Right, but they can't let it happen to Adam Cole. Kyle O'Reilly can replace, I guess, but no. Basically, this sets up for, I feel like, Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole at the Stand and Deliver pay-per-view.
I think that's probably going to happen. I think that's
right.
Legit
and then after the match, basically, or after the whole breakdown, Finn kind of looks over his shoulder and goes, "What took you so long?" And we see
there's
Karrion Kross, which I feel like sets up for Karrion Kross and Finn Balor at Stand and Deliver. I honestly think we're probably going to end up with Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly on the first night on NXT, and we'll probably end up with Finn Balor and Karrion Kross on the second night, where you have to pay for the streaming service, because that's the money match. I do. I feel like that's probably going to be how it has to be.
Yeah.
Karrion Kross unbeaten, Finn Balor pretty much unbeaten recently. I mean, he's on a tear. He's on a tear. He's held that title for a long time now, and I feel like Finn Balor legit could be the one to give Karrion Kross his first loss.
And I honestly think that Kross could take that title from Finn Balor.
Well, yeah, if anybody could, it could be him.
I mean, yeah. He had the title for a hot minute. Had to give it up because he got hurt, at any rate.
So that's NXT. Moving into NXT UK.
The first match was it was a classic.
It was a slobber knocker.
It was amazing is what it was.
Yeah.
We had the first match was Tyler Bate defeating Dave Mastiff in a Heritage Cup rules match.
Here's the thing. What I really wanted to see, I got to see in that match. I wanted to see who was stronger.
Yeah.
Because Tyler Bate is big strong boy.
Right.
Dave Mastiff literally shakes the camera when he gets in the ring.
Tyler Bate's the big strong boy, but Dave Mastiff is the strong big boy.
That's funny. That's funny. The bearded beast himself, Dave Mastiff, loses this match. But did it hurt him at all?
Not at all.
No, not at all. Because he did lose 2-1, and Tyler Bate had to just pull out the rabbit from the hat to pull off that second fall.
Absolutely.
He went up 1-0 on Dave. Dave tied it up by really injuring Tyler. I mean
that was a sick crucifix bomb.
Right. And so Tyler had to go into his bag of tricks and win that match. Dave doesn't look bad here. Tyler looks like $1 million, but he always has. So.
And the fist bump at the end of the match.
Right. Yeah. They were. That showed the ultimate. That there was no hard feelings. Those two really have a lot of respect for each other. To me, it was a lot like Rampage Brown and Joe Coffey.
Yeah.
Where they just needed to see.
They needed to figure out who was going to be better.
Right.
Next up,
we have the debut of Teoman, and he goes over local wrestler number 2, Danny Jones. Great match. Really shows off what Teoman is about, what he's capable of. Big things.
Toyed with him.
Big things.
The whole match.
Yeah. Anyway, Teoman comes out, really goes over on Danny here, showing what he's capable of, showing what we can expect from him, and honestly, I'm thinking big things. I really am. He really showed off what he is going to be doing in NXT UK. Whether he wins a title or not, I fully expect to see him maybe take that Heritage Cup off of A-Kid.
I don't think Teoman's going to take the Heritage Cup off of A-Kid, but I think he's going to try.
Oh yeah.
I think it would be good for him to try.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing we got going on is Xia Brookside shows up and says my room is dirty. I wonder who I can get to do that, to clean this.
Are you as tired of this as I am already?
I mean,
you would think if they were going to do this stuff, it would be her carrying Xia's bags to the ring for a match. They haven't had a match since Xia went over here.
Yeah.
What is this? I miss Sid Scala. I haven't seen him in 2 weeks. That's how much I hate this. I hate this. This is just pure garbage.
I hate this so much that this is all the time we're going to spend on this.
Yeah.
Next we had a backstage chain link fence powwow. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with powwow. That's a good word.
That sounds, we don't see
between Eddie Dennis and the Wild Boar. Mm-hmm. And Eddie Dennis is sitting there talking about how Wild Boar let the team down, let the hunt down by getting himself taken out of the match with Flesh Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews they had a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that street fight, basically, where Eddie Dennis had to step in. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And then, all of a sudden, next you see Primate
Tyson T-Bone.
And Tyson T-Bone kind of just pull Wild Boar out.
Yeah, toss him out of the side, and then T-Bone looks at the camera.
And then you hear this boar squeal. And, I mean, that was kind of a little too on the nose there. But, okay. Whatever.
Do you think he got slaughtered?
Next week we have bacon. So, I mean, we can only assume that Eddie Dennis has just kicked Wild Boar out of the hunt and replaced him with Tyson T-Bone.
Which is okay with me.
I'm okay with this because Tyson T-Bone and Primate would make a great team.
Yeah. And Mike was good on his own.
Mike was good on his own.
So, yeah, I mean, if this means a face turn for Mike because I really liked him, when they did this heel turn, I was really kind of disappointed. I didn't like seeing him be a heel. Primate I can see as a heel, but Mike I really wanted to stay a face.
I agree.
So this makes sense. The next match we have is Amir Jordan and Kenny Williams going over Flash Morgan Webster and Mark Andrews here. How they went over was really a shock. Well, not really a shock because Kenny had been showing some heelish behaviors before this, but that low blow. That low blow. And Amir seemed really upset about it. So
man, he was screaming at him, "What did we talk about? What did we talk about? Stop doing this!"
Right. But they got the win, and they're going to have a tag title match. So, is this a bad thing? Do we need this little mean streak for Kenny Williams and Amir Jordan to become, and I hate to say the word relevant, but they haven't been relevant. I mean, were they a legit contender for the tag titles before this? I don't think so.
You're probably right.
I don't think so.
They weren't legit.
I mean, there's too many tag teams in NXT UK for them to be a legit contender. So if they got to do a little bit of, I mean,
dirty,
excuse the term, but underhanded tactics. I mean,
underfooted tactics.
Yeah, underfooted tactics. I mean, that's what they need to do.
I agree.
The last thing that we have is
Piper Niven and Jack Stars defeating Jenny and Joseph Connor.
Who didn't see that coming?
I loved how that match went.
Oh yeah, Jack Stars really surprised me.
Oh yeah, he completely surprised me. What really shocked me though was the fact that Jenny did everything she could to stay out of that match, aside from beating up Jack Stars anytime she could.
Right. Piper wanted some. Jenny did not.
Jenny didn't want to have nothing to do
Jenny
with
hid behind Joseph Connors like she has been for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Piper didn't really get her redemption there. Piper didn't get her hands on Jenny as much as she wanted to. So I fully expect to see that this is not over.
I feel like Piper and Jenny is still got stuff to go.
I feel like Joseph Connors and Jack Stars could become a thing.
And I think that would be awesome.
Okay, so we have 3 questions here. We're going to try to get them done as quick as possible, but they are all really good questions and loaded questions. So let's settle in here. Brian Davis, I believe he's new to this show. I don't think we've ever answered a question from him before. But he wants to know, do you believe that even though he's made appearances and said he's forgiven him, do you believe that Bret Hart has truly forgiven Shawn Michaels for the Montreal Screwjob? Brian, I'm going to give my answer first because it's the politically incorrect answer, and I'll let my brother try to be the face here. Okay? I can't stand Bret Hart. I can't. Never have. Never will. The only Hart that I've ever loved is Owen Hart.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand Bret. I can't stand British Bulldog. I can't stand any of them. Jim the Anvil Neidhart, I'm a little on the fence about.
We're kind of iffy on that one.
But Bret Hart is a complete and total tool, in my opinion. Can't stand him, never could, never will like Bret Hart.
Okay.
Never liked him. He's the worst there ever was, the worst there ever was, the worst there ever will be.
Down.
I don't like Bret Hart, so no, he never forgave Shawn Michaels. No. Because he's a tool and he holds grudges. No.
Yes. Next question.
The next question we have is from another first-timer, I believe, on the show. Kay Lynn asks, what is the history of wrestling?
Well, do you want to go complete ancient history? Because this thing started in the Greco-Roman era.
I think she's talking about professional wrestling.
All right.
I'm going to choose to believe that's what she's talking about.
We'll go with that.
Kay, it started back in, carnivals and circuses back in the 1910s-ish era. It was something that showed off the athleticism of the people competing in the match. There was this thing called kayfabe back in the day. Basically what it was is they basically made you believe that everything that they did was 100% real. Kayfabe kind of went out the window in the mid-90s when the NWA started.
Yeah.
When the internet started being, a part of it, everybody started seeing that there was a lot of, and I hate to say it because I'm not going to say it because I love it so much, but it's when a lot of the curtain was pulled back and you saw there was a fake aspect of it.
The F word.
Yes. There was a fake aspect to it.
Stop it!
Where you find out it's scripted. Now, there is absolutely nothing fake about what they do in the ring. At all. As far as the moves that they do, yes, they do pull some punches. Yes, they do land awkwardly, but it's not fake. You can't fake gravity. Jump off a 15-foot ladder onto a table and tell me how fake that is.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But it started back in the 1910s. Then you had, the people like Gorgeous George, the Sheik, not the Iron Sheik, but the Sheik. Then you had, where it really gained popularity in the 50s with the Nick Bockwinkel's, the Baron von Raschke's and things like that. And then you had where it really got super popular in the 80s with Hulk Hogan's, the Ultimate Warriors, the Andre the Giants, the Sting, so the Ric Flairs, things like that. Then, it's turned into what it is today, which is just a big production, a big show that I absolutely live and die for.
Absolutely. The last question we had comes from Ashley, and she wants to know what our favorite match in NXT history has ever been. I want to go first on this.
Go for it, because I got to think.
My favorite match, and it's going to be a wildly unpopular decision, but Ricochet versus Velveteen Dream for the North American Championship was and is and always will be, until somebody shoves it back in my face or proves me wrong, that is the best match NXT has ever produced.
I got to go back to the very first takeover for this one. I got to say that Sami Zayn versus Cesaro, 2 out of 3 falls. That was an incredible match. Okay, Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura at TakeOver Dallas is also up there for me.
Yep.
I love Sami Zayn. I do. I'm not a huge fan of him right now because this isn't the Sami Zayn that I love. This isn't my El Generico. Who is that? But the Sami Zayn versus anybody in NXT was amazing. Cesaro really put NXT on the map when the very first takeover, he took on Sami Zayn in a 2 out of 3 falls match and let Sami Zayn go over. Cesaro was a main roster star at the time. So that to me was just an homage to where he came from. Sami Zayn really made his career in NXT off of that match. Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura at WrestleMania 32 weekend, NXT TakeOver Dallas. That was Sami Zayn doing what Cesaro did to him.
Yeah.
To Shinsuke, and saying, "Here, this is in your hands now, and rule like you can." I got to go with those. Lots of great matches. But for me personally, I like to look at not more than just the story aspect of it. I like to look at what it did for NXT. And those 2 matches basically did a lot for NXT. It set up the next few years that NXT would be around, basically passing the torch. Yeah. Oh man, Sasha and Bailey take over.
Yeah, we gotta redo that.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
You can hear
I'll say it. I'll say it. My mom, who's behind the camera, she's answering the question too. She's saying Sasha and Bailey at Takeover Brooklyn too. Yeah, women's wrestling that put NXT women's wrestling on the map. That basically solidified that NXT's women's division is and always will be the most competitive, the best women's division in wrestling. And I can tell you that you can't argue that.
Nope.
You can't. There are whole organizations that are basically all women. Shimmer out there. And our women's division kicks their butt. AEW has no women's division. They have Conti, and they have Sheeta, and they have Rose. That's it. Britt Baker don't do crap for me. I mean, so... No, I mean, NXT Women's Division was put on the map with that match, and it stays on the map. So that's what we got. So you got 3 answers to that question, Ashley. You got 2 from in front of the camera and 1 from the behind. So there you go. That's our questions. That's our show. We will see you again on Tuesday. Till then, remember, we
are
NXT. Next match we have is Finn. Okay, you all right?
Is everything okay?